My name is Gary Metzgar. I'm 62 years old. I'm looking for somebody that can bring joy and energy into a relationship that is physically attractive and physically fit. I want to find somebody that cooks and bakes as I do, so we might have a common interest. I want to find somebody that believes that volunteerism and giving back is important because that's important to me. I want to find somebody who's smart, has a good sense of themselves, and can be a good judge of somebody else's character. And I want to find someone who is not afraid to feel something immediately in a relationship and is willing to commit to something that's long-term and monogamous. I just want to take a few minutes and tell you a bit about my interest, or at least one of them, which is cooking. Dad actually taught 5 of us he taught us how to cook in our own self-defense because my mother never could. I enjoy baking, and I think the story behind this, the humorous thing about this is that I went to a radio club meeting because I also have a hobby of amateur radio, and somebody came in with chocolate chip cookies, and I got disgusted and said that we have to do better and shouldn't accept the status quo. So I immediately went home, made a recipe of molasses spice cookies, and brought them into the meeting, which everybody enjoyed. I also collect cookbooks. I have about 200 cookbooks, and I've collected over about 10 or 15 years, probably about 10 or 15 different cuisines, and want to find somebody that I can share the kitchen with. So I have about 3 or 4 books that are just devoted to cookies. If we get involved, I'd certainly be willing to share them with you. If you're interested, I look forward to sharing some cooking with you, and hopefully we can find a kitchen that's large enough to fit 2 of us. I've been involved in amateur or ham radio for about 45 years. My mother thanks my friend Tom Jardine profusely for introducing me to the hobby. In December '72, I was invited over to Tom Jardine's house, who put me on the radio so I could learn a bit about the radio and play with it for a while. And within 2 weeks, I was learning the Morse code in my house and building a receiver in my cellar. And within 6 months, I had passed my first operating exam and got my first operating license in June of '73. You can put a call out on the radio, but you'll never know who you'll run into, and that's the joy of it. So you always make a new friend. We're also active in public service to the extent that when Superstorm Sandy came to New Jersey, the hams were very active, and they were the only people who could provide communications because all the cell phones and the other methods of communication had gone down. What you have in front of us here is what they call a Maestro remote. And what that does, that lets me operate the Morse code or the CW. And when the headphones are not in, you can actually hear the code signals or the Morse code signals coming over the air. I use a key here to transmit and send my Morse code. On my left here, we have what we call as a log, where I put in all of the stations that I may contact throughout the world, and I keep an active record of those. The major point and design of the system is that it's all done remotely out in Ohio, and that's where the major station is. This is something I've done for about 45 years and enjoyed a great deal. But to my potential mate, I don't live in an amateur radio monastery, and always willing to put some time into a relationship.